you left New Zealand to work in the UK for a while,
Yeah.
as we were talking about before, because this interview randomly starts and people do this kind of thing. So, what were you doing before you left?
So I was working in York Street for York Street Studios in Auckland. It was about 9-10 months in total, and that's pretty much where the whole UK thing came about. But before York Street, I studied at S.A.E. In Parnell as well.
Yeah.
And after my studies there, it was about 3 weeks after I finished my diploma in audio engineering that I actually got offered a job there, which was pretty sweet. And I worked there for about 1.5 years before the York Street opportunity came up. But York Street happened, and then all of a sudden I found myself on a plane to the UK. Yeah.
And were you into recording, obviously at high school and that, because you go, from high school to S.A.E.?
Yeah,
Well, not.
Sort of. It was interesting. At high school, I was always focusing on the sport, and I always thought, when I finish high school, I'm gonna become a pro athlete, because that's what you do. You finish high school and you become an All Black, isn't that what every Kiwi does?
Yeah.
That's what I thought. But then all of a sudden, I found that I didn't really want to be doing that all my life, and started going to a few of these open days at S.A.E. and things like that, and had always been interested in music, but was never sure what path I wanted to take on it.
Yeah.
And as soon as I learnt that there was this thing called audio engineering, and that I could actually be the guy who sits at that massive console and push all the buttons and tweak everything and play with all the gear, I pretty much got hooked on it. It was like a drug to me.
Mate.
Yeah, I'm slightly embarrassed by it, because I still don't play anything. I'm probably the most unmusical engineer in the world.
Hey man, well you could kind of twist it to say that you're just using the studio as an instrument.
Well, I do for sure. I tell people that my instrument is a 48 channel console, and there's thousands of buttons on that. There's thousands of knobs and faders and everything, and I like to think that the console and all the gear is my instrument of choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. And what prompted you to make the move, or was it quite an easy one?
It was pretty easy. I literally met the producer-engineer duo that took me over. Their names were Greg Haber and Clint Murphy, and I met them in the studio, and they said, is this something you'd be keen on? And that evening, I called my mum, my dad, and everybody else, and said, I'm moving to the UK.
Wicked.
It's pretty quick.
Yeah. And being over there, did you notice any differences between, I suppose, the approach of the English versus Kiwis in recording, or their work?
Yeah, well, the Kiwis were quite well known for being fairly laid back, and it's something that works against us outside of New Zealand. A lot of people love it, and it can get you jobs, but at the same time, it does have an effect on our work. And you sometimes meet a Kiwi who is a little bit too laid back. They've slipped into that lifestyle maybe a little too much.
Yeah.
The British, when in the studio, they are very to the point. But I don't know. It's hard to say, because you'd meet, it's like any culture. Half the people doing it and half of them aren't.
Yeah.
So, you'd meet a British guy in the studio, an engineer or a producer, and he's just to the point. He knows what he wants, and he wants it done yesterday. And the Kiwi guy would be like, oh, yep, sweet. That's cool, man. Did you get it done? Nah. Oh, okay. That's alright. Let's have a cup of tea. We'll do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
And so the casualness, although it's a lot of fun to work with, can sometimes put us behind a bit. But maybe that's what comes with the British, the British Empire. That's just how they are.
Yeah. And because obviously we've chatted to that, and you've buzzed me out with a few of the people that you said you work with, and some of the people I grew up listening to and stuff. So you had quite a trip. So what are the and then again, thinking of that, some of the I guess some of the best ones you work with might be, you know, total random unknown people that you'd never heard of in your life. But what were some of your highlights as far as artists go?
In the UK itself.
Yeah.
In the UK, I've got to say, absolute highlights would have been a blues record we did for Matt Schofield. That was just 2 weeks of absolute luxury, having the best musicians, the best gear, and a great deal of time to just do what you want and to explore possibilities, and to, you know, we just had the time, the money, the gear, and the people to just do whatever we wanted. Yeah. We knew that we had some sort of some boundaries, and we had some ideas that we wanted to work on, but there was just complete musical creativity just going. There was experimental genius at its best.
Cool.
And it was brilliant. It was just really cool to work on.
Yeah.
And then, you know, there's you know, the artists were great, but coming from an engineer's point of view, some of the engineers I worked with and producers just blew my mind. I remember this one point, just sitting in the studio recording this vocal, this one, it was like 8-bar verse for a song we were doing with this artist, and it just finished up that evening recording with a guy named Fraser T. Smith, this producer who had just finished doing the latest Leona Lewis album, and, you know, he's got a couple of Grammys for the Adele album and stuff like that. You know, he's just some nuts guy. You know, people you just don't meet in New Zealand, you know, and just having the opportunity to work with people like that just blew my mind.
And just dudes that recorded Stairway to Heaven, and
just
little songs like that.
Yeah. I mean, Phil Brown was just another one. I mean, it was quite cool because he was quite a regular client of ours at the studio, and so he'd come in maybe once every 2 or 3 months, and he'd come in for a weekend and do a bit of mixing or some recording. And the artists you're bringing in, you know, you hadn't really heard of them at the time, but I'm sure that in the years to come we will, because everything he touches just blows up. It's nuts. I mean,
yeah,
some of the things he's done has just changed the world. You know?
Yeah.
Anyone who's listening, search his name.
Yeah. Did you meet any Kiwis in England? I was wondering that before.
Yeah, well, it was pretty funny because the town I was based in, a little town called Tetbury, not sure what the population is, but it was pretty small. And other than the producer's wife, Jackie, I was the only Kiwi in the village. And, you know, Clint Murphy, the engineer, he's a Kiwi, and so him and his wife and baby daughter, they lived just 10 minutes down the road, which was cool. So you always had some sort of Kiwis there, and then you had Jackie, who Greg's wife, who's a Kiwi, and then Greg's pretty much a Kiwi anyway. So had you know, there's constant supply of Kiwis nearby, and it was quite funny. The local pub actually always had Kiwis and Australians there. Always just working.
Well,
working
if there's piss there,
yeah, and it was great though, because, you know, being a Kiwi, you'd know a young Kiwi in the middle of nowhere, you'd become quite friendly with these people. Yeah. And so quite often I find myself at the pub at the end of a session, just on a lock-in with the staff, just having a few pints. It was great.
Wicked, man. Hey, one of the things too, like I was telling you before about doing this whole podcast thing, is just trying to get some good ideas for people starting out, you know. And so I think for those starting out in the industry, would you say that overseas experience is valuable?
Yes, I'd say that yes, it is. But then I'd say at the same time that you can do your own thing. I mean, New Zealand is a great place. We have amazing talent here. Some of the greatest musicians in the world, right here in our own backyard, just waiting to be discovered. You don't need, it's an old wives' tale that you have to go to the UK, you have to go to the States.
Yeah.
But from what I've seen and what I've learnt is, you don't need to do those things. Sure, they are bigger ponds, but you got to make the most of what you have in your own backyard. I mean, we've got it all here. You've got these, world-class studios just right there, ready for you to book. And the bands and everything is so accessible here, a lot more so than in the UK.
That's really cool. You said, make the most of what you have.
Oh, for sure.
I always say that to my guitar students. You don't need to go out and learn a million more scales or buy, 50 more books, although that's good though.
Yeah.
But
sure.
the thing is that you can take the one scale you do know, but learn to do more with that.
Definitely.
Kind of the same thing, I suppose.
Yeah, agree, for sure.
So that's cool, just to have that take on it too.
I mean, one thing I quite often try to tell young engineers, people who are still studying, is get your bearings as an assistant, figure out what it is that the assistant does, the intern, be the tea boy, the coffee boy, sweep the leaves off the driveway for the producers, scrub the toilets, scrub the benches,
That's something that I thought was really cool about what you've been doing, is just the interning and getting the experience, and because I don't think, for me, I didn't do that enough, when I was younger.
Yeah.
And not that you have to be young to do that. I mean, if you're never too proud to learn, eh?
No, for sure.
Help people out.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. I mean, you gotta put in some hard yards at the start, for sure.
Yeah.
I think everyone knows it, and you just gotta be ready to commit to it, and be prepared to put in those hours doing the shitty jobs, because some of them are extremely shit jobs. ask any producer who's done well for themselves. Ask them what they did when they were, in their late teens or their early 20s. Ask them what they did to get where they are now, and they will tell you that they know how to scrub a toilet better than anyone else.
Yeah. Speaking of starting out, we mentioned before that you were at S.A.E.
Mm-hmm.
So well, I suppose I was going to say what was it like then, but what is S.A.E.?
Well, S.A.E. stands for School of Audio Engineering, for those that aren't so sure. And basically, it's the largest audio engineering school in the world. So there's something like 56 campuses around the world, don't quote me. There's something like a ridiculous amount of colleges around the world with the S.A.E. branding. And the whole idea is that you sign up, in Auckland, you do a 1-year full-time diploma, and by the end of it you have a pretty good idea on what it's like to be an engineer or a producer, and they set you off into the engineering world with a pretty good set of skills. I mean, they're not complete, because the skills that you leave with they'll never be complete, because we're always learning. There's always so much room to grow. There's always new gear coming out, new software. I mean, when I started studying at S.A.E., they were on Pro Tools 7.4 or something like that, and now we're up to Pro Tools 11. There's just so many crazy things going on just with that one piece of software.
Yeah.
It's it did me a lot of good going through S.A.E. I think it's really cool these days, because music is a profession that you can go and do all the colleges and the universities, but at the same time you have all these great musicians and producers and engineers who haven't had to do that. They haven't gone through the tertiary education of having to try and enter this. And each way, both doing the tertiary or not works for different people.
Yeah. And can anyone go to S.A.E. at any point, or any age to start with?
I think you've got to be 18 years old or 17 years old, something like that, and you've got to have a bit of NCA skills in maths and science. But pretty much, I mean, if you show that you're a willing candidate and that you're really into it, they'll have a chat to you and take you on. I mean, I remember when I signed up, they might kill me for this, but when I signed up, I wasn't meeting one of the one of the standards, but I think it was more of a guideline. I mean, I've always sucked at maths. I didn't pass the NCA level 1 maths, so pretty much I think it was.
So you haven't used pie in music yet? Apart from eating it after.
Had a bit of pie today. Yeah.
You went to work at York Street, like we said as well, and as well as recording my Lunar Sea EP with Jimmy, you recorded an album, or assisted in recording an album from my favourite New Zealand band, Head Like a Hole.
Yeah.
And that would have been pretty mint.
It was insane. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was one of the greatest musical experiences of my life. I can't even remember how long they were in the studio. It was only 2 or 3 days that they were there, and they came in with their engineer. It was Buckland. Oh, I'm so bad with names today. But,
Andrew Buckton.
Andrew Buckton. That's it. Yeah, they came with Andrew, and I remember the whole band showing up and setting up their gears, and we'd been running through these tracks all day, and putting down a few takes, and then come in the studio, have a listen, just go, yep, that's it, that one there, next song. It was sweet. It was awesome. Yeah. For me, I was only 19 or 20 at the time, just setting up mic stands and coiling cables, and I was just interning at York Street at that time.
Yeah.
And it started getting pretty late into the night, and we'd been working on this one song for hours, and Andrew took the whole band outside, and I think there may have been a little bit of a spliff involved, and they came back in, and Andrew turned off all the lights in the studio, except for a lamp or two in the studio where the band was. And they went from the track we'd been working on. We've been working on it for a few hours, and it went from being like this 5-minute awesome track to this 8-minute beast. All of a sudden, the whole band just changed.
Yeah.
And it just, where the song was meant to finish, they just picked it up again, and it slowly went into this crazy psychedelic moment. And I don't even know if this song's been released. All I remember it being called was Slabbeth. And anyway, I just remember them peaking, absolutely peaking. The guitars was just going nuts, and I think Mike Franklin Brown was playing drums, and at the end of it, he said to me that it was, for him, it was just nuts as well. And
you cannot beat that, man. That's what music's about, right there.
It was just one of those moments where everything was absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
Everything just came together, and maybe listening back, you might, if you listen back to it without knowing what happened, you might think, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
But it's just, for me, I will always remember that moment where the band finished and everything stopped, and they came back into that room and listened back to it. It will just always be
energy, eh?
Just pure energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It was great.
Part of this too, with these interviews and that I'm doing, is trying to get a kind of a scope of the industry and just really get people's opinions and not have it guarded by anything. Not that it has to be positive or negative, but just strip away everything and get everyone's perceptions of what it's like and what it's like for them. Is there anything industry-wise that you'd like to see changed at the moment?
It's a hard one. I mean, there's always that little moment where you think, oh, I wish that would change, or wish someone would do something about that. But those moments come and go, and in its current form, believe it or not, the New Zealand music industry is in a great place. I think with the likes of people like Lord and the things they are doing internationally for New Zealand music is just huge, absolutely huge. The spotlight that has been opened on little old Aotearoa just because of one song, one album, it's just gigantic. It's massive. It's huge.
Yeah.
But on an engineering level, I think if you're in a position of power, you just need to remember that there are those that are going to come after you, meaning younger engineers and younger producers. And I think anyone who's in a position of power, they got to keep an eye out for those younger guys, because it is a tough world out there. Everyone's trying to make a buck.
Yeah.
And we just gotta keep an eye out for the younger generation of engineers and producers and everyone involved in the New Zealand music industry, because one day they're going to be running it.
Yeah.
One day our generation will be running it, and if the older guys if they're opening up room for us, then it just makes for a happier place.
Yeah. I tend to agree with that, man. It's sometimes it can feel as though things can get for younger ones coming up and trying to do well, it can feel like they can get trodden on.
Oh, for sure.
From fear.
For sure.
Well, that's at least what I've been told it's from. But the thing is that if everyone helps everyone else, there's going to be no... This sounds even cheesier. There's going to be no losers. But it's the truth, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, you don't get hurt from helping people. But yeah, I mean, it's... The thing I was thinking before is that it's all good saying what we want changed with the industry, but really we can only control what we do.
Exactly, yeah.
You know?
I've got to...
You're right, it's in a pretty awesome place at the moment.
Yeah, I just got to quickly touch on, just semi-related to all that, is when I first started working at S.A.E, about 6 months after I started there, I got asked to apply at York Street, and I applied for the job, and I got told that I wouldn't get it. I was told that, we've given the job to someone else. And I was pretty down at that point about the whole thing. Jeremy at York Street, he was pretty apologetic about it all, and I was quite understandable about the whole situation. And I just kept on doing my thing. But for a year, I was extremely persistent on just following Jeremy's ass. I mean, if I knew he was going to be at a particular event, I knew that I'd be there too. And I just kept up a real good rapport with the guy. And after a year after I missed out on the job, we'd sort of become buddies. We knew of each other quite well, and he just gave me a call one day and said, the guy's about to leave. This is the guy that I lost out on to the first time. The guy's about to leave. We're doing some interviews. I went in, had my interview, and that afternoon I got the call and said, Jez said, the job's yours. And
there you go, man.
After a year of persistence and hard work and all that, it paid off, and the rest is history. After that I went to the UK and worked with all those people. And
did you see that coming in the moment where you got rejected, so to speak,
no.
from the job? Yeah.
Hell no. No, it was pretty funny because when I was studying at S.A.E, Jeremy came in and he gave us the whole spiel about York Street and the business behind music and everything like that. And I always thought, I'll never get a job in engineering. There's just too many people trying for that same job. And then when the opportunity came up and then I got rejected, I thought, nah, it's over. Why am I wasting my time at this? But I kept on. I was doing a lot of live sound, and all of a sudden, everything sort of fell into place. I think I was friendly to the right person at the right time, and it all paid off.
Well, you're just a good bastard and you're persistent. You reckon?
Yeah, maybe.
Oh, awesome, man.
Maybe.
The other thing I was thinking too is well, I know you've recorded heaps of top quality stuff and some really good material, and a lot of it though wouldn't end up on radio. Do you come across acts that you think should be more out there on radio, or a bit more recognised in that way, and then when perhaps you come across acts too that are on the radio and you think, how the hell did they get on that?
All the time. Just the acts that you hear on radio and you think, what the hell is this? Like, what? Who has worked on this, and who put this on radio, and why is it so popular? But at the same time, I have a lot of respect for those that are doing well on radio, because it is a tough world out there. Even if you're someone like Katy Perry or Justin Bieber, I mean, it is hard work to do that well. I mean, the amount of hours that they would spend on getting that song to perfection like that, I mean, it is pure pop perfection. It may not be everyone's, music of choice, but it is pure pop perfection. And I gotta, I take my hat off to the people like that. With the artists that I wish I could hear on the radio, and you hear them and you think, why are you not selling millions of records? Every time I go to a gig, I hear those bands. I mean, I'm sure everyone who goes to a gig, you'll hear a band play, or you'll hear some guy in a corner at a pub, and you think, how are you not bigger than Michael Jackson right now? These people, they just sound awesome. The songs are great, and you just think, why are you not doing better? But it's all down to timing and having the right people behind you. I mean, we live in such a modern society with the whole, the techno age. We are the techno kids now. Got the internet at our fingertips. I can just jump on the iPhone and I'm on. I can be in Japan.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. We live in the future, and I don't know if we've all quite come to grips with it right now. I don't know if we've taken grasp of that opportunity as much just yet. But it's interesting. Yeah.
And do you reckon, like, working in a studio has opened you up to different styles, or it made you appreciate?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. The cool thing about living in a recording studio and being an engineer is every artist that comes through that door, they have 5 artists that they reckon you've never heard about, and they want to show you. They want to show you they are more hipster than you are, and they come in and they say, "Have you heard of this and this and this and this?" And you go, "Fuck no, I haven't. Who the hell are they?" It's some folk artist from the middle of Nebraska, and you think, "All right, this is pretty cool."
Yeah.
But the other amazing thing that I've found a lot more recently is websites and players like Spotify, where they've got this discover button, and it tells you, hey, you like this artist, you might like them, and you start listening to these crazy artists you'd never heard of. I mean, I was listening to one this morning. I can't remember their name. But it's a couple of Mexican guys with these crazy moustaches, and it was because I was listening to an album that I'd been referenced to from another album. I think it started off by listening to like Shapeshifter.
Went on the deep dig and got
deeper and deeper and deeper. And now I'm on some artist with a couple of Mexican guys with some moustaches.
Yeah.
It's great.
I reckon YouTube's wicked for that, and for nostalgia flashbacks. Digging up old. I was trying to find old Max TV clips and things like that. Yeah. And what about just general advice for young engineers and people wanting to get into engineering and working in a studio?
Just don't be afraid to contact people in the higher power. Don't be afraid to contact those studios or those engineers or producers, because we all had to do it at one point. I'm not. Shit, that made it sound like I'm in a higher. Fuck me.
You've done it right, man.
Trying. Don't be afraid to contact the studios. We all have to do it, and you never know what it might open up. The cool thing about engineers is that we all try to help each other as much as possible.
Yeah.
Because we do know what you got to go through and what sort of hard yards you got to do to get to those places. And it's a bit of an old saying, but it does separate the men from the boys.
Yeah. Well, that's admirable in what you're done too, is when that opportunity came up for the UK, you didn't go, oh, you know, I've got a bit of drinking to do. Or maybe, you know, you just went for it, eh?
For sure.
Yeah, cool, man. Well, cheers for having the chat.
Yeah.
And I always finish it the same way. If you had a magic mic and there was one sentence and the industry and musos alike could hear it.
Just some sort of advice for everybody, and they got to listen to it. Is that it? Just sort of repeating what I said before. Just you know, if you're in that higher power, just remember there are the little guys below you, and that one day we are going to be the ones paying your taxes for you. You know, when you're in the retirement homes, we're the ones that'll be paying the taxes. So just remember that.
Wicked. Cheers, bro.
Thank you, brother.